chat.
That's
We'd like
good.
to go on to our featured speaker tonight, and that's Pamela Keyes, Director of Public Utilities in Lee County, who's leading the development of a county-wide wastewater management plan. And tonight, Pam will discuss the situation on Pine Island and possibilities for septic to sewer conversions here. But first, I'd like to give a little background. As part of the efforts of the GPICA to support improved water quality around Pine Island, we formed a septic to sewer task force from the members and attenders of the GPICA, which looked at the usage and capacity at Pine Island wastewater treatment plant in St. James City, as well as the history of packaged plants on the island and our existing water quality indicators, which at some points are pretty dismal. The task force has shared their initial findings with county officials and urged them to consider Pine Island a priority as they address wastewater management. So I'd like to turn this over now to Pam Keyes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I very much appreciate all of your time and your interest in septic conversion. I prepared a small presentation that I want to share with you all, and I can also email it to you all in the morning. Just a little bit tonight, I'd like to talk about our program, our septic conversion program, a little bit about me. I've been with Lee County as the utility director for 10 years. And this is really the last couple years has been the first time that we've really started to dig into septic conversion programs. The agenda tonight, I'll briefly talk about septic systems and their contribution to water quality. This is a countywide program that we partnered with our natural resources staff to really understand the impacts of systems on water quality. I'll spend a couple of minutes on the LCU wastewater service area. I think a lot of you already have information and took a tour of our plant. I also want to talk about some of the collection system and plant improvements that may be needed for septic connection. Also, we are in the process of doing a countywide wastewater master plan, and I'll spend a little bit of time on that, what it includes, and when you can expect some results from that plan. And then finally, I'll spend a minute on the current method for connecting. And currently, we do use our MSTBU program through our budget and finance department. So the septic system contribution to water quality. As I mentioned, natural resources have provided sampling and results that show that human waste, animal waste contributes to impacted water quality. They've done a study in the North Fort Myers area initially to get some initial results for that area, since they knew that they had impacted waters there. And then they expanded that to go more countywide within the unincorporated county. The results of the countywide study should be available for public within the next couple of months. And so I would be keeping an eye on those results because their intent was really to understand how septic systems impact surface water. What we found is that septic systems are effective if there is a 4 feet separation between surface water and or the surface of the soil and groundwater. Because Florida's groundwater is so high, there are many systems that do not meet that 4 feet separation. We also take a look at the age of the septic systems and whether or not there's been proper maintenance and inspections of them. Many septic systems are 20, 30 years old and haven't been properly maintained. What our natural resources studies have found is that the biggest impact from septic systems are located within 1/4 of a mile of impacted water bodies. So when we're looking countywide, we are really focused on those septic systems within 1/4 of a mile of impacted waters to get the most impact to water quality. And then finally, conventional septic systems don't treat for nutrients, which impacts algae and red tide and those type of reactions. There are advanced systems out there. We recognize that throughout the county, centralizing sewer may not be available or an economical solution. So we're working with DEP to really understand if they'll be requiring those with conventional septic systems to upgrade to a more advanced treatment system. Sorry, let me get this going. Okay, sorry, I have a little delay, so I'm struggling with my technology. So the existing system, this map is a little bit difficult to see, but what it shows you in red is all of the suspected septic systems on the island. In yellow, it shows where there is collection system to our wastewater treatment plant. In the south, kind of here's our wastewater treatment plant, and then at the intersection here. We do, in the green is the transmission line that brings the wastewater to our water reclamation facility. Currently, we've got about 800 connections. However, we suspect there's about 5,000 septic systems on the island. We also know of 9 private package plants. The package plants are located throughout the island. 7 package plants are located north, where there is no transmission line, and 2 are located in the southern area where we do have a transmission line. So there's maybe opportunity to connect them. If we were to connect them, we would have to take a look at not only our plant capacity, but also how do we dispose of the treated effluent, either through the irrigation system, reuse irrigation system, or other methods of wet weather disposal. So looking at our collection system, our transmission line, and our plant capacity would be very important for understanding how we connect septic systems to be able to treat that water. We did hear that there was some concerns that additional package plants or new septic systems may not be allowed on Pine Island. We had discussions with DEP staff, and they do not know of any restrictions. But again, they're going through the process of evaluating whether or not they'll be requiring advanced treatment systems for package plants and for new septic systems, which will improve water quality. So based on current population growth, our plan through 2040, we will not need to make changes to our plant or our transmission systems. However, if we do create a septic system, we are going to have to upsize our transmission line and extend it. This is done through development. Extending the line is through development. We'll have to look at our plant capacity and effluent disposal, as I discussed. There have been studies throughout the state, and Captiva Island is actually in a process of doing a study for their septic conversion program. And the cost per property comes out to be about $10,000 to $30,000 per property. So part of the problem with the septic conversion program is the cost of actually of doing that. But that's where we're happy to be working on our countywide wastewater master plan. There were two changes to regulation to require the county to do a countywide master plan. In the past, when we have been interested in septic conversion programs, there haven't been a regulatory requirement to do so. And many times once the community found out the cost, it became prohibitive for these types of programs. Back last year during 2020, through our natural resources, our Caloosahatchee Estuary Basin Management Plan was updated. And through that update, the county is now required to submit a master plan with a 20-year plan to connect septic systems to central sewer. Now, concurrently, during the last legislative, there was a Senate Bill 712, the Clean Waterways Act, and it also focuses on utilities and improving utility infrastructure, as well as septic conversion projects. So this is really the first time where we've been required to put a plan together for septic conversion. And part of that plan includes looking at Lee County Utilities infrastructure and what we're going to need to do to prepare for that new wastewater customers. Our largest goal is to come up with a system where we can prioritize neighborhoods based on impact to groundwater. We also have been asked by our board to identify grants and funding sources to help with these type of projects, knowing that they're very costly. We plan to present a draft plan to our board January next year, January 2023. There will be an opportunity for the board to talk about policy decisions. Like I said, where do we start? What's that priority? And from their comments, then we'll be able to finalize the plan and submit it to DEP per our requirements. Finally, I want to talk about a minute just about what neighborhoods can do right now if they want to connect to LCU. Basically, we use the the financial mechanism of our MSTBU. I've shown the website where you can go on our county website and it can walk you through the process. As I mentioned, Captiva is working on a study to connect to the Sanibel central sewer system. They started with this study probably about 4 years ago, prior to the county having the requirement for the master plan. So they're a little bit ahead of the rest of the communities. They have studied what it will take for a collection system. They're in the process now of looking at what potential Sanibel connection fees may look like. They're also doing an evaluation if the Sanibel collection system can handle the new flow. After they've got a plan and they have community buy-in to go further with that plan, the city of Sanibel has shown interest in treating the wastewater from that central system. Then I am fully anticipating that the board will be asking us to investigate potential grant funding and other financial mechanisms to help Captiva with their project. There's a lot of questions still out there, but they're a good model of a community that got very interested in this and did a lot of homework, worked with Sanibel, worked with the county, and they're making great progress. I'd love to answer any of your questions. That's just a short presentation with an overview, and then I'll be able to come back and talk more as we get more information and we get further into the master plan.
Okay, well, thank you, Pam. If you would stop share.
Let me see if I can.
Yeah, you can.
Let me see. It's looking a little bit different than what it.
Yeah, it says it on, probably says it on top. It says stop share.
Oh,
Top of your
thank you.
screen. Mhm.
Yeah. Just one moment. I'm trying to stop it. Oh, I see it.
Okay, now we can see everybody. Okay, I'm sure that people do have questions for Pam. I know this has brought up a lot of issues for me, but please, if you have questions, raise your hand, unmute yourself, or put the raise hand signal up there. Okay, Mike.
Hi, Pam. Thank you for the presentation, first of all. And I guess I wanted to go back to Captiva and compare it to, our own island, Pine Island. It sounds like you're saying that Captiva is well on its way because it has, although it's not been approved or anything, but it's well on its way because it has done its homework and stuff. And I know I had read part of that Captiva. Jeff Waller had provided a copy of it to us, and we were able to familiarize ourselves a little bit with it. And it mentioned about subsurface water rising and not being whatever it was, 24 inches away that it was required to be on Captiva. I would imagine the same thing would be true for any island system. And I'm just wondering, is there anything that we can do to sort of move ourselves ahead in the line so that we might be addressed? One of the things you hear about, every politician talks about the water quality in Florida. And, we're surrounded by water, and yet we are still allowing it to continue to get polluted through leaking septic systems. I know well, I guess I'll let you just respond, whatever.
Well, I very much appreciate that question regarding Captiva. They started, their planning panel started looking at it as a part of their restrictions on development. And when we met to discuss, utilities really aren't used as a tool to restrict development. Utilities is a service that provides to developers, and developers pay for infrastructure to connect to the utility and become a utility customer. The benefit that they had is once they started to really get into the issues and determine that for their community, they did want to investigate septic conversion. The city of Sanibel wastewater treatment plant had extra capacity that they were interested in having Captiva use. When I first started working for the county, the Sanibel was not interested in working with Captiva. They did not have the capacity. But only recently, the last couple of years, they did do some upgrades. They upgraded their plant to advanced treatment, and now they have that capacity, and they do have an interest of working with Captiva. So when I say they have an advantage, they got started working on this issue, evaluating if this is a good option for their community, showing to the board members that they were interested, and they thought their community, although they haven't taken a formal vote, they have taken a straw vote, and the community is very supportive of septic conversion. And please remember, when they got started on it, we didn't realize that we would have to do a master plan. So now that we're doing the master plan, Captiva is included, Pine Island is included, but those are some of the advantages that they have. If Pine Island is really interested in pursuing this and understanding the costs and understanding who's interested in participating, then I think it's trying to get that community buy-in. We have not started doing community outreach and education yet. It's a little bit early for us. We're still getting ourselves set up to be able to do that. But if you're starting to get your community involved, if they understand what those potential costs are, and also the benefit to water quality, which every island is very important to people. I think that that's a real step forward. Showing the board that you've got an interest and that you're getting involved, I think would be important for them.
Thank you, Pam. I did want to mention that, you know, as I'm sure you know, we do have a wastewater treatment plant on the island. And the current capacity of that plant is 130,000 gallons a day, but the facility is permitted up to 500,000 gallons a day, which indicates to us that there's room for expansion. And furthermore, the treated water is currently disposed of using the deep injection well, jointly built and owned with Pine Island Water. And that well is permitted to receive 2.91 millions of gallons per day, but currently only 19% of the well capacity is being utilized, 5% by Lee County Utilities and 14% by Pine Island Water. So it seems like we have quite a bit of capacity already built here and already being used, but then, you know, there's all this extra space that's there. Does that help us in any way? And
it does, and that's where I appreciate that you came out to talk to our staff and to understand where we are with our plant. That plant is a relatively small plant. From our estimates to get the island fully converted, we're going to need a plant with a capacity of about 1.5 million gallons per day. The deep injection well, we do share with Greater Pine Island Water. So there is concern there to ensure that the quality of water that's going in there meets all standards. So there is capacity at our existing plant, but for a long-term program, we anticipate that we'll have to do some upgrades.
Okay, there have been several hands raised and several questions. The first one, Deb Swisher-Hicks, I think you told me that John had a question, I believe.
Yeah, how you doing? This is John. Good evening to y'all. The two questions. First one is when the numbers were done as far as who's connected on Pine Island here and the number of septic tanks. Was there any max capacity numbers for the island if we take that into consideration?
I can get you those numbers. Like I said, our existing plant, we could take on more, but right now it's rated for about 500,000 gallons per day. And for the full conversion, it would take about 1.5 million gallons per day. So we've got rough numbers. There is capacity. I'm sorry.
I didn't probably let you go too far. You said max capacity, was that with the understanding of the max capacity of residents and commercial on the island, or is that max capacity with what you have now?
The capacity that we have now is about 500,000 gallons per day.
Okay, and you said what 1.5, but that would take into consideration the max capacity of residents and commercial on the island?
For residents and commercial on the island, we would need up to 1.5 million gallons per day.
Okay.
And the facility currently can handle that?
No, it cannot.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Has anybody done the numbers as far as what the capacity of residents and commercial would be?
Yes. So we estimate if we did full conversion, it would be 1.5 million gallons per day. Very rough estimates.
Okay, I was looking for the number of residents and commercial. That's fine. The other one is the septic tanks. You said the 4-foot difference for the soil. Have you done a study of how many people would meet that right now?
No,
Okay, I don't think there's gonna be very many that's gonna meet that, I don't think. If there's when it comes time to have people, and this makes good sense. I'm a retired plumbing contractor out of California and did a lot of work, about 30 years of it in the San Francisco area. And I did a lot of this underground work. And I can tell you, two things you don't want to do is wait and undersize and have problems in the future. And you want to give the ability to people who might be strapped for cash to keep them from mortgaging their houses, that any funds that are available allow the homeowner to actively make connections up to the tap. That's a lot of money, a lot of savings. And there's volunteer programs out there. I'd be happy to volunteer, help people out with this, making the connections. Because the taps are going to go in, that's fine. That's a lot less than making the connection from the tap to or beyond the tank to the resident. And that kind of consideration really needs to be considered, because people, I don't think there'd be a lot of people are going to be able to handle that cost, especially if it just gets pushed down the road, 5, 10, 15 years. It's gonna be astronomical by then. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I would like it very much if you would contact Nadine to see how your expertise could be useful to the task force.
Great. Yeah, like I said, I'm retired now and have been for about 16 years, but I don't mind helping any way I can,
Great. All right, great. We need that. Robert Ballard has his hand up there. Go ahead, Robert.
Yes, I live in Bokeelia on one of the canals up here. There's a lot of old canals built in the 60s up here.
Yeah.
A lot of old septic systems. And I heard you talk a lot about the groundwater, 4 foot from groundwater and stuff, but we're close to bay water, not groundwater. And that's a real concern for me. And these septic systems up here are very old and failing. And a lot of them are way beyond the regulations of what they should be going into canals. The repair if you do a repair of a septic system now, if you do a repair, it's about $13,000, $14,000. If you do a complete replacement of a septic system, it's about $30,000 to replace the septic system up here. And you have a big mound out in your front yard. So when you look at hooking up to a septic system and costing you $18,000, $20,000 versus $30,000 for a new septic system, the cost is not comparison. It's but that's something you got to look in when you're looking at what it's doing to your environment. We have a lot of old houses up here in Bokeelia. You have a lot in St. James. You have a lot in Flamingo Bay. You have a lot of Mount Lachey. And we are all contributing a lot to the problems we have in our estuaries right now. And I think we need to do something in the near future to stop some of this stuff that's going on. We can keep pointing our finger to Lake Okeechobee, but we got a lot to contribute to what's going on here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Robert. There's a question in the chat. It says, what types of chemicals will we need to add to the drinking water in order to process it using the sewer/wastewater systems? Would it be chlorine or what? Personally, we prefer no chemicals, less is more. Can you answer that, Pam?
I don't think there has. Yeah, I'm not familiar with Greater Pine Island water treatments, but I don't think that there's any change to the water for if it goes to a septic system or if it goes to a public utility.
Okay. All right. Jeff Waller, you have your hand up. Jeff, go ahead. You need to unmute, guys. Jeff, you need to unmute.
There we go.
Hi,
Oh,
I'm
hi.
Jeff's wife, Lisa. My
Lisa.
question, hi there, is would an annual pumping out of our septic systems take care of the problem?
It will help greatly if septic systems were inspected and pumped out annually. It helps out greatly.
Okay, thank you.
A good question.
So my question was trying to seek clarity, Pam, and I echo Mike's comments. Thanks for sharing your time with us tonight. I've had some discussions with Jay Brown and Captiva, and my recollection of that discussion is that the wastewater was not the major issue in terms of pollution. It was the nutrient issue in terms of, algae, et cetera. And that prompted a number of people on Captiva to say, why would we go ahead? And some of the responses were, one, with that separation of the septic tank from the water table, the 4-foot requirement, is as the groundwater continues to rise, that's going to be more and more of a threat, more and more people violating that. And secondly, the comment was made earlier about the pollution coming down the Caloosahatchee River. And Captiva said, how can we complain about that if we can't keep our own house in order, so to speak, and control the things that we can control? And I thought that in the study, and whether someone on the Zoom meeting can help clarify, I thought the water quality study around Pine Island indicated again that wastewater was not the huge issue, it was again the nutrients. And I'm a little bit confused now about your earlier comment about the wastewater having an impact. My understanding, and this is my question, is I thought it was a very much smaller impact than the nutrient issues that we have coming down the Caloosahatchee River or our own, fertilizer, et cetera, on the islands.
Okay.
Sorry, it's kind of
thank-
long-winded, but I wanted to give you the
Oh.
background.
That's a great question, Jeff. And I wonder if Pam or others who are on the Zoom might speak to that. I know Suda Hode had her hand up
Right.
earlier, and Noel also had his hand up, and maybe the two of them had some insight into this. But first, Pam, can you tell us what is the
Right.
or
So
percentage of,
I don't know if I can give you a percentage, but you're absolutely correct. Septic systems are designed to treat bacteria, viruses. They are not designed to treat nutrients, which are in wastewater. So the advanced systems do treat nutrients
Right.
to a certain level. And then public utilities, our utilities, treat it to an even higher level. So that's where you start treating the nutrients. Their study was very complete. They looked at sea level rise. At first, the thought was, well, maybe it's not a nutrient issue from wastewater. But even if it wasn't, you have to deal with sea level rise because you're not going to get that 4 feet of dry soil that's
Right.
treating.
Right.
I
Right.
think that through this second study now, they've taken another look at it, and they do find, just like we found in North Fort Myers and in the countywide studies, that if you're dealing with human waste, you're contributing to nutrients to the environment if they're not treated.
okay. Suda Hode, you've put several messages in the chat and it sounded like you wanted to make a comment. Could you go ahead, please?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Pam if she has a rough idea of the incremental cost of an advanced wastewater treatment system versus a conventional system, because a conventional waste treatment plant doesn't account for the nutrients either.
Correct.
And I was wondering what kind of cost difference would there be? That would be a waste treatment plant cost.
Okay, so for a wastewater treatment plant, we have 5 wastewater treatment plants within the county. One of them is already advanced treatment. We've taken a look at the other 4 and came up with a round number of about $40 million to make them advanced treatment. What we'd like to do is, as we are upgrading our plants and increasing capacity, we do have capacity challenges with growth. That's when we want to also do upgrades to bring them to advanced treatment. My understanding for septic systems, a conventional system, as as someone had said earlier, is maybe $10,000. For an advanced septic system, it's closer to $30,000. So there's a cost for that additional treatment.
Thank you.
Okay, Noel, did you have a question? Noel, are you still here? Oh, there you are. You need to unmute yourself,
Unmute.
Noel.
Can you hear me
Thank you.
now?
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to thank Pam for a great overview of the issue and thank her for her time coming to the island. And I would, if we could, I'd like to see that our data is incorporated in the study and also to impress upon the commissioners when they're making a final decision that we are the largest island in Lee County. And we do share the issues of Sanibel and Captiva, and that we would like to get in line. We understand that Captiva is already in line and received $100,000 grant from the county to do their study. But now that the county is doing an overall study, please make a strong emphasis, because when you're protecting the estuary, it starts out here on the island. And thank you so much.
Thank you, and I appreciate your interest. And you may also want to consider, well, the county will be doing public outreach and education, and we would love to talk to you more as we go through this process. We want to make sure that we're open with you all. I love your interest in this. At some point, you may want to take a straw poll vote to see how much support there is on the island. And I think that that also goes a long way with our board members to understand that you're organized and that you're getting consensus. So very much appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a question in the chat from Ellen Ballard. Two questions. One, is there a possibility to get federal infrastructure dollars to help fund this conversion? And two, I understand that Charlotte County has pretty much completed a countywide conversion. Has Lee County consulted with Charlotte County?
Great questions. Yes, we fully intend to be asking for state grants, federal grants, whatever is available at the time, as soon as we have projects, concept projects. Charlotte County is a very different county from ours. A lot of their citizens are already on central sewer. The areas that they are connecting to the central sewer are very dense neighborhoods, very easily connected. So they definitely have a jump on us. Our systems are a little bit more challenging in that we do have areas that are condensed like that will easily be able to connect to our systems without much improvements needed. But the more systems there will always be some systems that are in rural area, low density areas that won't need to be connected and cannot be connected. So we've got a few more considerations than they did, but they've done a great job. And yeah, we use their scope of services for their master plan to help us to get our arms around our master plan scope.
Okay, great. Robert Ballard, did you have another question? I thought I saw your hand up. Now I've lost you where you might be. Oh yeah, here you are. Robert, if you had another question, please unmute yourself.
No more questions.
Okay, thanks, Robert. Okay, Jeff.
Yeah, I had another question. I'm relatively new to Florida. I've only been here 2 years, moving from Wisconsin. But I am just passing along some, secondhand information. I'm trying to understand it. And that is, I was told at one time, the state of Florida created a law that required septic system inspections. And then subsequent to that, I'll say a couple of years later, that law was reversed and it was delegated to the counties to decide whether they wanted to have a septic system inspection I'll say, program in place, and that Lee County declined to do that. A, is that summary correct? And B, might we need to reconsider that, for what I see is a fairly long timeline in terms of any septic to sewer conversion if we get a plan together and execute it.
Those are great comments. And I think that that is a correct summary of history.
Okay.
Prior to me coming to the county 10 years ago, there was a proposal before the board to do an inspection program for septic systems. And it was approved, but never funded. As I said, really prior, there wasn't any regulatory requirement for septic and trying to convert septic or do inspections, but that is something that needs to be considered. You're right, the septic conversion program is a long-term program, and that may be something that we need to talk with our board again through our natural resources department.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. I don't see any other hands up now. Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment or ask a question? Okay, I see a number of hands. Sherry, go ahead.
I'm just wondering if you could give us some kind of an estimate, if you, knowing Lee County and where the worst offenders are, where does Pine Island rank in terms of priorities of solving the overall problem in the county?
Oh, great question. I think it's a little premature for me to be able to talk about that, because that's part of that master plan that we're looking at. How do we prioritize? Everybody's important. So we should have more information to share with you within the next couple of months on that. I think all of the islands are important because they are so close to groundwater. There's not that 4-foot separation. Pine Island, although is not within the BMAP area, the Caloosahatchee estuary, so there may be a higher priority for those sites within the BMAP area. But I think it's premature for me to go too much into it because there is such a great need out there.
Thank you.
Okay, did I see another hand up? Jim Copeman? Jim, yeah.
With regard to this last point about us being not in the BMAP area, but even though we're not in the BMAP area, it seems like we would have, we're more crucial because we're more connected to the water, and we have a more serious issue of contamination, especially with the nutrient. I mean, that's why I think it'd be really important for us to get that advanced treatment that, instead of just the primary treatment.
Okay, Jeff Waller.
Just one other quick question. Pam, you said the priority be given for the greatest impact to improve surface water quality. What's the definition of surface water quality?
I believe that.
I don't mean scientifically. You're talking the Gulf and the straits and the canals. Is that all considered surface water in that definition?
It is. It is.
Okay.
It's a very broad definition. So it's within the BMAP area. It's all of those properties along the river, all of the estuaries that run into the river. Your island just doesn't happen to be in the BMAP area, but of course there's a lot of studies about the water quality impacts around Pine Island. So again, I'm not saying that being within the BMAP area is the end all, but it is part of that consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it seems like the Charlotte Harbor National Estuary Partnership and the South Florida Water Management District and other agencies or organizations have done water quality studies in Pine Island Sound and Matlacha Pass. And of course, we're all connected, and we're all connected to what comes down the Coxsackie as well. And it seemed like we do have excess levels of fecal coliform, nutrients, phosphorus, mercury, etc. So yeah, I don't understand the B map or whatever it is you say, but clearly it's an area that's prioritized. But I'm not sure why our island, being connected as it is through the water, is not a part of that.
Right. It's going to be very difficult to try to prioritize. There's a lot of needs, but definitely there's been enough studies to show that Pine Island has impaired waters. You saw the number of septic systems on the island. You have public interest. So all of these things help bring you up to a higher level of priority. As we get more information and we're able to talk to our board about policy decisions on how to prioritize, then I can come back and have more discussions with you.
That would be great.
Yeah.
We would love that.
Yeah.
I see Robert Ballard, you have your hand raised.
Yes, I just thought I would add a little history for people talking about the surface water, being a native here and growing up here, living where the Publix is on Pine Island Road and Burnstall Road. Surface water is a thing that we lived in the summertime, and it's sheet flow. Sheet flow comes from the north down through Charlotte County, down through 41 and down to the bay, and a lot of surface water in the summertime. And until they built Burnstall Road, we were in water in the summertime up to your knees when the rains came. And so the sheet flow, and if you go up by 41 over by Slater Road, where the Del Prado extension goes across over to Slater Road, you will see what sheet flow is in the rainy days. All that area up there is flooded. So there's a lot of surface water, quote, unquote, there. And that's a lot of agricultural waste and stuff that flows down that goes into the estuaries and into the Coxsackie River and eventually into the estuaries and stuff. So that's active surface water in the summertime from sheet flow. It's very common. And so you got all the agricultural waste and stuff and from all the developments and stuff up in the center part of the state that gets washed down into our area.
Right.
So that's something you got to deal with from the nutrients you're talking about. But that's the surface water in the summertime that you got to deal with. So I just thought I'd give you some historical facts about the surface water.
Thank you, Robert. Connie, you have your hand up? Connie, you need to, unmute.
Sorry. I might sound a little ignorant in this capacity, but if you could give us a high level explanation of what this BMAP area is. It seems to be a foreign term to me, and I don't know if I'm the only one on the phone that doesn't know what it is, but if you could at least give us a higher level explanation. Thank you.
So our Natural Resources Department is charged with water quality and improving water quality. So they have a best management action plan for improving water quality within a water region. So the one that's requiring septic to be connected is the Coxsackie estuary. And I would be happy to get you a map of what that area looks like. But it's basically an area that's been defined through studies by the regulatory agencies of having impaired waters, and they have impaired waters for nutrients. And then our county has to come up with a plan to improve water quality, of which septic system conversion has been added to the plan. So this is an ongoing plan. They are natural resources staff as well ahead of schedule of making improvements. It does not matter. We still have to do septic conversion. So there's not, I don't want you to be concerned that septic conversion wouldn't be a high priority as some other water quality type of project. We have met our goals. Our board is very aggressive with water quality improvements, and septic conversion is part of that plan. But I will provide to you what that map looks like, and I'll also give you a contact from our natural resources who could speak much more in detail about their program.
Okay, now is it the letter B, like A, B, C, D, or
Yeah, so it's
so is there a hierarchy of areas that are designated as alphabetical?
No, the B map is best management practice.
Okay,
Yeah, so that's the name of the plan. It's a best management action plan for that estuary area. There are other estuary areas. They may have different B maps, best management action plans for those impaired waters.
Okay,
so then
that
I
helps
guess
a
the
lot. Thank
residual
you.
question would be, does the Pine Island Sound have a B map
Designation
No,
plan?
you are outside of the B map area. However, you still have plenty of studies that show impacted water.
Okay.
So that's going to be, that's important to us as a county. You are still important. It's more of a technicality that you're not within the B map area, but those areas outside the B map, not necessarily the islands, may be given a lower priority because they're outside. We are required as a county to show improvement within those B map areas. But
Okay.
again, all of the islands are important because their test after test, they show that they have impaired waters.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay, so not seeing any other hands. This has been very informative, Pam. We want to thank you very, very much for coming tonight. And we also really appreciate your suggestion that you would provide us with this BMAP and a contact, and also possibly come back after a few months when you're starting to prioritize, because that's quite important to us. And meanwhile, maybe we can be in contact to find out, more of the particulars about what we need to do in the meantime to help persuade the powers that be that
Sure.
we need help here.
Sure. No, very much appreciate all your time and interest. This is very important to us.
Right.
And I just want to be able to tell you that we want to step through it. We've just begun the planning process. So as I get more and more information, I'll be able to share that with you all. So again, thank you so much for meeting with me this evening. And I really do look forward to speaking with you all as I get more and more information.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you all.
You can go ahead and go and have a nice evening, the rest of your evening. And